Sure.
reports. Sure. All right, I don't get yelled at. I didn't give the proper injury report. What do we got? Who's injured? Let's see. You got Cedric Giles is doubtful for the next game with broken hand. Devin Jones, a sprained shoulder, he'll be questionable. And Malcolm Johnson going to move up to questionable for the next game. I keep Tobias questionable. We'll just see how it goes. You know, we've rested him a whole bunch. So, I mean, I guess he'd probably be more probable that he'll play in this game. Just because we've given him a bunch of rest, but I want to make sure that he's feeling good before he goes on the field. Missing anybody?
No, Tyler.
Tyler would be probable. Okay.
Do what?
He's fine.
Oh, okay.
How are you scripting Tobias? I mean, are you tempted to look at the schedule and say this week yes, the next week no, or?
Well, we looked at possibly doing that, but you know, with the trainers, it's so, you know, it's so tough because I mean, eventually I look at them saying I'm going to want to say this week yes, this week yes, the next week yes, the next week yes, the next week yes. So, you know, I think it was big. Get him to play in the Auburn game. The original script was get him to play in the Auburn game. Let's see how he does after that game. He was sore, and then we decided to rest him a little bit more because that was probably a little soon to bring him back. But we wanted him to play in that game. He wanted to play in that game, and we did. So, you know, now, to be honest, I'd like to see if we can go multiple weeks in a row, and we've given him a little rest. So, but I don't know, you know, I mean, it's such a play-by-ear deal.
The way the passing game was last year, and of course the first two games, tight end became very important. These last two, no catches for Green. Has that kind of been by design? You guys gone away from a little bit, or do you look at that on film, going, we got to get to the tight end a little bit more?
Just how people play us, you know. Just how people play us. You look the last 2 weeks, we've slowed down the passing game. You know, it wasn't like we didn't have people open against Troy. We just didn't catch it. And it wasn't like we didn't have people open last week. We just overthrew them. And, you know, or underthrew them, or, you know, didn't get it out there. I mean, I think you watch the film, we had 3 guys open running deep down the field, and maybe I think 4 actually. If we had thrown it to them and thrown it accurately, it would have been another 4 touchdowns. So I don't think we had a touchdown pass, did we?
Nope.
So we would have 4 of them when you watch the film if we had thrown it accurately. So. But not by design, it's just kind of how people play us. If they give us the tight end, we're going to take it. If they don't, and they're leaving the outside with the receivers open, we're going to take that.
How important is it, you know, to get, when Malcolm does get back, and being able to do some things with him and Marcus on the field at the same time, or Brandon Hill? And
That's a weapon. You know, I mean, it's a mismatch, and Malcolm's kind of a tough mismatch on people. So it'd be great to get him back, you know, and get him out there and repping. And I mean, he was out in full pads today, and really didn't, I mean, very limited in what he did, but it does, and it'll make you expand the package even more because you have the depth now to do so.
How has the tight end, you know, kind of, you know, emerged throughout your time as a coach, and how you've used them, and especially here in your time at State? I
mean, I'm a big fan of using tight ends. I'm a big fan of creating mismatches, you know, and so if you got to find who can be mismatches, you know, and you know, I think one of the things we've found here has been able to find those kind of big receivers, or like Malcolm was, like Brandon Hill was, that is, you know, and as Marcus was when we got here. None of those guys played tight end in high school. You know, Rufus did, and he has that size. That they're kind of mismatches to the defense. And you know, anywhere offensively, that's what you want to find. If you get a really big running quarterback, Tebow or Cam Newton, that's a mismatch. You know, if you have a receiver that you can put in the slot to play tailback or running back, that's a mismatch. And, you know, our tailback, our slot receiver, that's a mismatch on people, how they defend him. The tight end's the same way. He's kind of a receiver, but he can block and be an insert tight end or an online tight end. Those are mismatches. And so I love using those guys as many as we can.
Dan, has motivation been an issue playing these 2 non-SEC teams the last couple of weeks? It seems like at times guys aren't quite up for these games.
Yeah, you know, I don't know. I mean, you got to remember our kids are still 18 to 22-year-old kids. So I think the focus, the maturity and the focus has slipped. And I don't want to say that we're not motivated for the games, But I even think during the games, I see that where, we'll play a great offensive half and then a bad offensive half, and we'll play a great defensive half and a bad defensive half. Or, play a couple really good series and then look terrible for 3 straight series. That focus kind of drops a little bit, where it didn't. And I think it is hard sometimes. We try to, you try to fight against. The kids look up the scoreboard and say, "Hey, coach, we're up big," and all of a sudden the team comes back on you a bunch, and you don't feel comfortable about it. We went out last week, and I think our first 2 possessions we had negative 10 yards net on the offense. We went 10 yards backwards. Just complete lack of thinking that we're just going to maybe score on every time we have the ball or something like that. And sometimes it's not just that. It is, hey, I want to score a touchdown every time I touch it, instead of I'm going to follow my read and we might only get 5 or 6 yards. You start seeing guys running around backwards and stopping. I'm going to try to spin out and go the other way and take it 90 and it ends up -5. Or if they just hit the hole, it would have been a good play and kept the ball moving down the field. I think those things happen sometimes in those type of games.
You mentioned the wide receivers 2 weeks now. They've done a really good job getting open. Is that because they're all working off each other, they've developed, or just defenses can't focus on 1 or 2 guys?
I think when you can, we don't worry, we put all those guys out there that, someone's always going to be, they can't double everybody, or they can't kind of bracket everybody. Someone's got to be left alone, and those guys, and, have trust in those guys to be able to get open. And, so I think they've done a decent job of it. And you have some experience there. You have some guys that know how to get open now in games.
How have you worked the bye week this week? Just usually the bye week for
I
you
spoke all over the place yesterday.
With the team,
we evaluated the film Sunday, and I spoke all over the place yesterday. And they showed up today.
With the team, though, it's not like you're preparing for a scrimmage or anything on Saturday or anything.
No, we're just, what we're doing is getting reps for guys. Today we went a longer practice than we normally do on game week.
Right.
A lot of that is because we expanded individual to get some more individual work. And you use this week, there's a lot of stuff when you get into game weeks that you don't get to do in practice. They get stuff that gets shortened down. We've expanded upon those things to get shortened down in game week. And then, and when we go live reps, there's a bunch of guys that aren't taking live reps this week. They're going to do individual. They're going to do pass skill. They're going to do some of that group work. But we go live 11 on 11. We're going to force a lot of other players to go earn more reps on Saturday and show what they can do.
I'm sure you're going to focus a lot on the freshmen that have played this week, and what do you try to accomplish with them the week off?
The freshmen that haven't played?
That have played, I'm sorry.
That haven't played. The same as everybody else, this is a big week for the twos. The guys that are, 1.5s and 2s, guys that are rotating 20 reps a game and all that stuff. This is a big week for them. Guy Banks is going to get minimal work when we go 11 on 11. I know what he can do, and he'll be ready. And he's working his fundamentals. He's working in 7-on-7 drills, to keep going. I'm not going to let him do a lot of 11 on 11 because I want to see the other guys have to step up and do that, and that's what we're doing with those guys.
You sit down and you watch the film and you talk to Tyler, especially this last game. The drops the first game against Troy, the South Alabama game. Is he quick to realize what was wrong on some of those throws? Was anything wrong?
No, I think, what? I just think at times they gave a couple different looks we hadn't seen them give before. And then, I think he held on the ball a couple times too much of trying to make the perfect throws. When you start trying to make perfect throws, you start aiming the ball. When you start aiming it, you start missing. And, so I think to him, that was some of it. And, but, nothing that's not going to be corrected. You know what I mean? Even the throw, he hit Arcedo down the middle of the field, wide open. I'm like, hey, I bet you'd like to have that one back. He's like, yeah, I just, he was so wide open, I didn't want to overthrow him. And so he ends up way underthrowing him. Those type of things where instead of just playing, he was thinking and trying to kind of be perfect when he just go play.
Talk about him maybe staying in the pocket too long. I know, is there a fine line he's got to get between having that poise and just, we got to get out of there and get rid of the ball?
Well, it wasn't that. It's holding on to the ball till everybody's wide open. You know what I mean? He was kind of like, hey, I'm gonna try to wait till he's wide open to make the big play. I think a lot of our guys, there are times you see plays, and even slight things that you wouldn't see, that if you go study the film, you'll see, boy, there was the crease. The kid's like, well, I'm trying to hit the home run, instead of hitting a single. You know, I got an easy single right here. I'm going to go swing for the fences. I think in those games that happens sometimes. You know, our guys everyone wants to make the big play, and when you get into league play a lot, you're not. You're playing that ball control. You're trying to get the first down. It's going to be such a tough game, you know, that I got to go pound it out and I got to go hit some singles. That you have to do that.
Have you seen him try to force too many throws, and what happened on that pick in particular?
Pick was a horrendous route.
Okay.
You know, but it was the same thing. You know, I mean, you get in those games, Arcedo. I ran his route, but I mean, he kind of. I think he didn't think he was getting the ball.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, when you watch the film of it, I mean, he ran like a cookie cutter route and just the the throw was actually pretty good on that. You know, and Arcedo, I mean, he ran a comeback and never pushed him off. He was just kind of going through the motions down the field and turned around, and because he probably thought the ball was going somewhere else. And you can't do that. I mean, that's something we haven't done. You know, and you just see those little things like that. That's a lack of focus.
Anything working with special teams this week?
Yeah, we're going to do, you know, same thing. You know, some individual stuff and some things you don't get the opportunity to do in a regular game week because, you know, you're just getting so much practicing what's going on in the game. A lot of fun. It's a lot of fundamentals you get done in the bye week that we haven't done for 4 weeks now since camp. That you're getting back to touch on some things that you really don't get to focus on.
Nico, you talked about it a little bit after the game, but Nico's interception, how much do you think that just kind of gets him going a little bit? Because you mentioned it's a hard injury to come back from, but he was not only made the interception, he was making those big hits we've been accustomed to seeing.
Yeah.
To see that get back into him?
Yeah, I just think the confidence, you know, I mean, they're getting a little bit more confident being back out there on the field and comfortable being back there on the field. He was still limited a little bit during training camp. You know, even though he's clear, he didn't go through spring. Even though he's cleared, he still protected him. And, you know, it's not one of those that you just, okay, you're good, go 100% right now. You know, we tried to limit him some during training camp. And so I think he's still just getting back to game form.
He hasn't made a really crazy hit, maybe like he did later.
Well, you got to be smart, too. You know, I mean, with the emphasis is where the rules are in college football. He's got to be smart in some of those, too.
With you being so isolated on game by game by game by game, have you gotten a chance, at least this week, you said you spoke a lot, that 4-0, 5-0, 6-0 here in Starkville, Mississippi is a little bit different than other places?
When did that happen?
You already got us winning more games.
Well, you're 4-0 now.
Yeah.
4-0 at Starkville, Mississippi is still pretty rare, and it's a little
You
bit
know what I noticed, though? And it feels this way from our fan base. It almost feels like this was expected. Which is actually good. I mean, I like that. You know, I like that type of feeling. That, you know, I mean, not that our fans take it for granted, not that people in town, not that our student body, not that our team takes it for granted. But I do feel like it's, you know, I would have said it 4 years ago, my first year we started 4-0. The feeling would be a lot different than starting 4-0 right now in town. I think people have come to think that, okay, you know, I still feel it's a pretty big deal, you know, but it's what we want to do as a team. It's what when I look, this is where I planned us to be. You know, I was planning on being 4-0, and and I think our fan base and our people kind of a similar way. I don't know. You got to see it more. I don't get out much.
In a sense, does it feel like that?
It seems like
That's how I based the question, was I know you're so isolated, so it's...
In a sense, does it feel like, you know, guys knocking off Auburn, you know, Arkansas has been at that 3 spot in the West for a while. They're 1-3 right now. That the fans and maybe the team kind of sees an opening here to make that step?
Well, I mean, we've certainly put ourselves in a position to take that step by what we've done right now. You know, if you look where everybody is, we're in that position right now. Now, there's a lot of football to be played. You know, and you know, it's one of those things. We've gotten in that position. Now, I mean, people aren't just going to sit there and let us take it. They're going to want to fight for it. So we got to go protect that position.